Yeah, I'm adopted. Uh, that's pretty much it.
I like to make the joke that my parents have been there since day two instead of day one.
I was adopted 3 days after I was born.
I was adopted from Guatemala when I was basically less than a year old.
Right after I turned 19, I believe, I was officially adopted.
That I've always known, and I've always been proud of it.
Matter of fact, I could give you my whole adoption backstory. When I was born, my mother abandoned me in the hospital, and I belonged to the state at 1 day old, and they named me Elias Doe. I think about that name a lot to the point where I even had it tattooed on my forearm to remind me that once I was nobody. How I got to my parents was my real mother had just got over having open heart surgery, and I remember DSS called her asking her if she wanted to take care of a little Hispanic baby.
My parents were teenagers. My birth parents. They were teenagers who knew that they couldn't handle uh, having a child. My birth parents put me up for adoption while she was still pregnant, and my parents now, snatched me up. So
My sisters wanted a little brother for their birthday, and I happened to be born the 23rd, so it worked out. And my parents just like chose me from a batch, basically. I don't know to say that.
So my parents divorced shortly before I turned 5, and I did not have a very good relationship with my biological father. My mom remarried when I was about 10 or 11. I think I turned 11 shortly after or shortly before she remarried. And then I had a stepfather, and we had a really, really, really good relationship. And as I got older, I started thinking more seriously about adoption. But in my instance, I knew that my biological father would not sign over his rights. So just like thinking about it, and I was kind of looking into things on my own about adult adoption, where you don't have to terminate parental rights with your birth parents. As long as I consent and the other party consents, I'm adopted.
It has definitely shaped how I know people view me because I don't like speak Spanish naturally, like many other Hispanic people. I don't like spicy foods.
Getting a different last name and then having that official, like, the court will now recognize that the man I have almost always thought of as my father is actually legally my father, was very freeing in a way.
When you look at me, I look Hispanic, but I don't know a lick of Spanish whatsoever. I don't know anything about the culture, the food. So I was brought up by black people, and so that experience is unique to me because I remember when I used to be a kid, my family and I would go grocery shopping, and like the other Hispanic families, they would just stare me down and look at my parents, and I hated that so much because I was proud of who I was, and I would ask my dad and my mom why are they looking at me like that, and they would say something like, oh, just don't worry about it. They think that you're supposed to be with them.
I'm going to show you guys my 23andMe. So if you don't know what 23andMe, it kind of shows your ancestry. Um, these are some cool reports, but the thing I was most interested in was my ancestry report. So I'll walk you through kind of what we're looking at. I'm 96.5% Chinese, but I'm 99.9% East Asian. I was confused about my identity because I look a certain way, but I don't necessarily act the way I look. I don't express the culture. I am Asian, and that's that. I'm not confined to being Asian and maybe not acting Asian, whatever that might be. I'm not confined by other people's ideas of what I look like and how I should act.
We had gone through several years, many years of infertility treatment, trying to get pregnant and have a baby, and no success. Had a couple miscarriages and no success. So finally, we got to the point where one of my friends that I went to college with had adopted a little child from China, and I'm like, I'm too old. And he's like, no, you're not. And they had just adopted.
Experiences that I have with my family, I feel like, are no different than experiences that other children have had with their families. My parents loved me, and they also loved me and my sister, because my sister is also adopted as well. And, we would have amazing birthdays. They'd spoil us on holidays. They would celebrate our gotcha days, which is the day that we were adopted. And I loved growing up with my family. I've loved the person who I've become today, and that is because of my family.
My birth parents were just the people that birthed me, but my parents are the people who have taken care of me.
I firmly believe that those are my real parents. They have given me everything I could have ever wanted.
We just have that older sister, younger brother relationship that anyone could probably have.
It was me and my dad and a whole bunch of our close family and friends all piled into this little courtroom. I was nervous I was going to cry in front of everybody. I didn't cry. My dad bawled like a baby.